Hey, 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 secondhand soul fans!
Hey, 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 secondhand soul fans! It's Dave Drower here, the sax man, and I'm here with
Kathy Fern.
That's right, and we're here for another episode of the Secondhand Soul Band Show. How does it feel, Kathy? We're almost at 20. We're at 18.
I know. Like the time just flew by in the beginning when we got started. It was like, oh gosh, what are we going to talk about? And now we have like too much information to talk about every week.
Right. It's like the one gig that we have every week, and it's sort of nice to be able to have something artistic to fall back on.
Oh my God, I know. Be creative, right?
Yeah, this COVID thing is just still going on. It's just and there's not an end very close in sight. So but I'm so happy to still be talking to our fans and interacting with them, and this school year is something interesting for me.
Daily torture.
Right, it just keeps getting more and more interesting, that's for sure. So yeah, it's a very interesting year, but we got a ton of awesome stuff to talk about. So we have the Bears, because of course you got to talk about the Bears. Always. Right, and then we have over underrated with Kathy and me, which is going to be very, very, very spicy. I definitely think so. And then the soul
lives, Dave, I'm ready.
The soul lives on, and the soul lives on. This guy deserves to be on this segment.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Yes. And then we have a guest interview with one of the Secondhand Soul Band's acquaintance friends, and we have announcements, question and answer, and then we will see you guys next week for episode 19. And
wow. And Lyle's not with us today. He had a prior commitment, and he's very sad he's not here, but we miss you, Lyle. We'll see you next week.
That's right.
Let's get started. The Bears. I should have put my mustache on for this.
Yeah, the Bears. That's right. So the Bears, they played on Thursday night prime time. And before we even talk about the end of the game, like the Bears during prime time, history is not on their side for this. I'm sorry. Like, think about all the Monday night games that they lost and Sunday night games. And so Thursday night here, they're playing Tom Brady.
Yep.
And you know anything about Tom Brady and the Bears, Kathy?
I do know that it was an extra nice win because it was the first time ever that we've beat Tom Brady. Woo! Go Bears!
Yes, the Bears. You finally crushed that. Oh man, that was the greatest part of that night.
Yeah,
was us beating Tom Brady and putting that little taking that smirk off of his face, like he's sitting on the sidelines, like with his head down, and
poor baby.
It felt so good, right? And the Bears, man. There were. It was a long game. It was hard to watch at times. The defense
as usual.
Right. I'm just waiting for that time where it's just like so like they just crush it.
Yeah, just once, right? Just.
But again, they have 3 wins. They're beating good teams, and all the games are like right there. So. I should.
They say it's like a dirty win, right? I guess it wouldn't be fun if they just sailed into the end zone every weekend.
Well, I want some domination. I want something that's like these guys can go all the way. If they're all just nail biters, no matter how good or bad the team is, it's like, ugh. But no, we're 3-1, and the last time that happened was, what was it, our playoff year or something like that? But. The Bears are definitely coming along, and the last 5 minutes I couldn't stop watching.
I was just gonna say there was something in the last quarter they were talking about. What was that about?
Well, here's the deal. They claim Well, the Bears had the lead, right? And then Tom Brady, he was doing a comeback, which really wasn't, because the defense was pretty solid. They held them to very minimal yards for Tom Brady, and the running game really wasn't happening. So it was like 4th and 8, and Tom Brady like throws it long to try to get a touchdown, and they claim that he didn't know what down it was. Oh, maybe the guy in his headphones was saying the wrong down, or maybe he didn't. And I'm like, dude, people claim that he's one of the greatest of all time and all this stuff, and then you're going to just, like, let him slide on not knowing what down it is? It's like, no.
They're like basic quarterback 101.
Right. I'm sorry. He clearly knew what down it was, and if he didn't, then he needs to retire immediately.
Yeah,
because
especially if they're playing the Bears. It's the 4th quarter, and they're down. I mean, he's going to know what down it is. Come on.
Give me a break, right. How many Super Bowls does this guy have? And how many commercials for mattresses does he have? Like,
that makes him a better player, right?
No. He's a pretty boy, and this season he's gonna regret coming back. That's for sure. But that's all right. All right. I feel like the Bears are doing good. We're gonna see what happens next.
All right, we'll take it
this coming week, right? Because a win, I will take a win. If we could win every single game by 2 points, we could still win a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. Right.
Yep.
Right. I just I want less penalties. Less penalties is really what we need, because the penalties just shoot us in the foot. All right.
Yeah.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment. Over underrated. That's right. Today, Kathy and I are going to be discussing Janice Joplin.
Yep. Janice Joplin.
Yes. So we got some. These are very early photos, right?
That cute. That's her yearbook photo. She was born in 1943, so she was about 1961. Maybe that picture was taken, and she was dead 9 years later.
Yeah, heroin. Right.
It's a tragic story. She seemed to be a rising star, and then 27 years old. That was it. That's that magic number for a lot of those people. She was also listed as like the first lady of rock and roll. And somebody said, or I was looking on the internet, they called her a powerful mezzo-soprano vocals. And electric stage presence. I'll give you that. She was definitely a performer. She definitely, brought the energy. I mean,
she had
ridiculous amount of energy.
She had a presence.
Definitely.
Yeah, energy.
The first lady of rock and roll. I wouldn't.
There's
people that are the first people to do something, so they got to get some credit, of course, because they're the first, and then they're copied many times over. But if you just were to hold her up as a vocalist, she doesn't really have. I mean, the energy and the power in her voice. It seemed like she was screaming most of the time. And then to know that she was probably high or drunk or both most of the time. I don't know how she sang the way she did. If she had lived, I mean, I don't know how long her career might have gone on, because you can't do that and have any kind of stamina after a long period of time.
You can't. Her being high on stage is something that's irrelevant, really, because the old jazz guys used to get high too. You really can't. You can't.
That is true, and they delivered a lot better.
Right. So it's all about the performance, because ironically, we were on this motorcycle ride a few weeks ago, and some guy was talking to me about how Stevie Ray Vaughan, after he got clean, it just wasn't the same. And so
we all know that artists and actors and people in show business are damaged. I mean, that's kind of why they get attracted to the business. So that's not surprising. We have a whole segment on tragedy. So
the yin and the yang, right.
Yeah.
And are we attracted to it? Are artists attracted because of the light they live, or what?
You write through your pain. I mean, there's a lot.
Exactly. And Janice Joplin, right? She. If she just had a horrible voice, but she sang like with soul, like some of these old blues people, I would have a little higher regard for her. But for her to be sort of like the rock one, it's like she's like screaming this like sort of like bluesy sound, and then it just becomes horrible. And then her stage presence to me, it was just tired, and it Oh man, I'm not a fan. And I keep trying to find like the female rock star that I think is like the top, just because like I have so many problems with quite a few of them, and I just don't understand how it fits into rock. Fleetwood Mac is another perfect example of that.
Well, she only wrote a couple of her own songs too, so she wasn't writing the music. So, they were she got into a band that was had some good material, and she delivered it well, for the time. I mean, I never obviously got to see her. She died in what was it, 1970, so I was 4. But I'm sure that people that had seen her have a special affinity for her, because it was the whole experience of the early 70s, just getting out of the 60s in the crowd, you're all doing your thing. So there's a something about that where they were there, and then she becomes this beloved icon because she died. I mean, if she hadn't died, I don't know if that would have been the case, but
right. And many of the artists that we talk about now, it's like they might have died early, and we're thinking about like what they were supposed to come out with, and I mentioned Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis coming out with an album, and and them dying, and what crazy stuff they would have done with the music business if they were still here. And
that's always a theme for us.
Right.
Yeah,
and Janice Joplin just is sort of like, no, I wasn't expecting, like, you're right.
She didn't seem to have longevity at all.
So we actually agree here. One of the very few times we
Did you ever see the movie The Rose with Bette Midler? That was supposed to be based on her life story. And of course, that movie was fantastic. And of course, Bette Midler is an amazing vocalist, and she is an amazing actress. And she really portrayed the pain and the tragedy of that life based on something about Janice Joplin.
I just think about Seinfeld, though, if you're talking about Bette Midler. Like, there's just, it's such a great few shows on Seinfeld that had to do with her. That was hilarious.
I'm sorry, I'm not a Seinfeld fan. I never really watched it, so I don't get the reference. I feel like I should now, because I hear that a lot, and I don't understand what it is.
Yeah. Seinfeld is not underrated by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I don't think so either. I just never took the time to watch it.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for filling in for my buddy Lyle on this Over Underrated. Yeah, next time we're gonna have to get something that I don't agree with somebody on, because we gotta get a little feistier in here. You know what I'm saying?
I can take it, Dave. Come on, bring it on.
That's right. All right, let's move on to our next favorite segment.
Soul Lives On. Yeah, so we lost a great one this week. Eddie Van Halen. Wow. I feel personally touched by this, and a lot of people in my peer group thought the same thing. Like, he's been a part of our lives for so long, and he made such an impression on many of us when we were 13, 14 years old, listening to that music. Like, it was mind blowing when we first heard him play his guitar. And David Lee Roth, that was my first concert, actually, when I was 13 years old. He came out on stage in assless chaps. And I was like, my little 13-year-old mind was blown. What am I looking at here? But this poster, I have such a story about this poster. And I didn't realize there was such a controversy about it. And I just have to talk about it, because it just really stays with me. I put it up over my bed. It came when the album Women and Children First. And I put it up over my bed. And of course, my father was like, take that crap down. I got in so much trouble for it. But I kept it. And, it's just something that I just couldn't believe I was getting in an album. And but there's a whole story behind it. There was always a tug of war between David and Eddie, and about, being the front person. And of course, I don't think Van Halen would have been Van Halen without David Lee Roth, obviously. But I mean, the continuing factor, even when you went to Van Hagar, was Eddie's guitar playing. So they were like equally important frontmen, honestly. And but there was always this tug of war. So apparently David wanted to do a photo shoot with a very famous photographer. Hang on, Helmut. I didn't get his last name. It's right here. Shoot. Anyway, it was a very famous photographer at the time. And I think David was a little more into the art world and kind of knew who this person was. And Eddie was like, I don't know who you're talking. Oh, Helmut Newton. There it is. I don't know who you're talking about. And so he decided to schedule a photo shoot with him for the band to do the cover of this record that they were putting out. And, Eddie was like, yeah, whatever. So he just kind of showed up, and he showed up late with the rest of the band, and David was already being photographed by this guy. This guy really just wanted to photograph David. He really didn't understand he was supposed to photograph the whole band. So there was a little bit of miscommunication there. And because he was paying so much attention to David, Eddie got mad. And I guess they took some pictures, but like he just was not into it. And, they were like, they didn't want to use the pictures, and there was a whole rigmarole afterwards. So the label ended up hiring another photographer, and that shot right there is the one that really came out. Yes, that's a joint in the bass player's hand, and they were just like really working it up for the camera, and that was one of the shots they ended up using. But David still had the last laugh because he worked out a marketing ploy with the record company to put that poster of him in the leather pants chained to the fence inside the album, and like the first 10,000 copies only. So it was limited edition. So it ended up being that the promotion sold the record super fast because everybody wanted that poster. So it worked out well. But, I think Eddie was probably still mad about it. But, we want to say, rest in peace, Eddie. It feels like we lost somebody we knew. Me and my friends were all texting each other like, oh my God, do you believe that this happened? I mean, it was just, it seems like was way too young to die. He was 65. And again, one of my first concerts. So great memories. I got to see them a couple times live, and it was some of the best times ever. But what do you think, Dave?
Yeah, no, it's a sad day. He definitely deserves to be on the segment. He's one of the greats, and originally Kathy wanted to do Van Halen for our Over Underrated, and I was like, no, that's not the segment for him.
There's no argument there.
Right. And right now, yeah, he had just passed away, and he deserves the spotlight that we're gonna give him because absolutely.
I think that's one of my
about a career, and even in his 60s, like that's a long career for rock stars. We were just talking about Janice Joplin dying at 27, so.
And all the texts and the stories I've read about him now, it seemed like he was a really good guy. Like he had some addiction issues and some problems, and he was still smoking even though he had throat cancer. I mean, what do you do? But everybody seemed to speak very well of him, and he seemed to be a really overall good guy. So it's just too bad. But that's one of my desert island bands, though. If I got stuck on a desert island, give me anything Van Halen. Not necessarily Van Hagar. I like it, but it's not Van Halen. It's not the same thing. That would be my band. One of them anyway. Probably if I had to pick one, I'm not sure they would be the one, but they definitely won in top contention.
Right. Deserved to be talked about tonight. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we got to move on now. It's time.
Okay.
Dave goes off.
It never fails to entertain me.
Oh, that's right. It's time for another Dave Goes Off segment, my friends. And this is a good one. And it was sort of funny, too, because I heard this happening like while I was getting ready for this show earlier with Kathy. And we're talking about phone etiquette because I guess some people nowadays, they're just like, man, all I do is text. This is it. So they're texting nonstop. And then it's just taking forever because by the time you might be on your watch, you might be on your phone, but by the time you keep going back and forth, it's like this could have been a 4-minute conversation, and now it's a 25-minute textathon, and I don't know. The other thing that bothers me about phone etiquette now is, all right, let's talk about Governor Pritzker. I'm sorry, but he's like, you got to answer the phone if the state, like health people are calling so we could, track COVID and all this other stuff. And every time I'm trying to find out, okay, why doesn't it say Illinois Department of Health or like IDPH like on my phone?
Unlisted or something.
Right. It's just another one of these calls where it's like you answer one time. She's like, let me discuss your healthcare option plans, and it's like, lady.
Oh, I get the one. Hi, this is Becky. I'm like, stop calling me Becky.
It's just like, right. And then that one time I answered, and then I'm like, this is why, Pritzker, I don't answer the phone.
Right.
So And then you guys don't leave messages, or you've never called me and I just have telemarketers.
Or I call you and your voicemail's full. Hello? Like, what messages do you even have in there?
Right.
I don't know. Is this a millennial thing or a baby boomer thing? I don't know. I'm a realtor, and it makes me nutso when I can't get another realtor on the phone. Like, dude, that's your job. Either their voicemail isn't set up, or they don't answer, or they don't call you back for 2 days. It's like, how do you do business like that? I don't understand. And if you're texting somebody, if you have to text more than like 2 sentences, just call them. It's ridiculous.
Well,
the text is never supposed to be a paragraph.
It's the face-to-face stuff that doesn't happen anymore. This is why dating is based on like 3 pictures that you like pay somebody to take of you like doing fun things
and
like
Photoshop it later
and this other stuff. Right. And it's just pathetic that the connections that humans used to have are no longer happening.
My favorite is when you call somebody and they don't answer, but then they text you right back. I'm like, dude, your phone was in your hand. Would it have killed you to answer the phone?
I've gotten that before, and it's like I've actually done it before, and it's like I'm in a meeting, so if it's important, like text me back what it is, but otherwise I can't answer the phone.
But that's what voicemail's for, right? But then people don't check their voicemails either. Like, I love you leave a voicemail, and then they call you back. I'm like, did you listen to the voicemail? No.
The Apple will automatically send a text too. Like you could set that up. You could just press the button and it automatically. So if you're in a meeting, that's fine. But if you just ignore it and then you text immediately back, it's like, it's like you're cheating on your girlfriend or something. It's like, I can't talk now, babe. I'm sorry.
No, nobody's here, but I can't talk.
Exactly. So, but again, like the COVID thing, it's making personal interactions even worse. Like that was one thing I loved about music. It was like, no, you have to be there to feel how crazy awesome this is.
Yeah. Right. Oh, we do miss that energy in that room. The whole vibe. I mean, there is something palpable. It is a physical energy in the room, or just meeting people in person. I do miss that. That connection, hugging people when I see them, looking into their eyes when they're talking, like just having that person-to-person interaction. We are all missing that. And I think we're being damaged by not being together, but not much you can do about it right now.
And we're not even on TV, so like it's horrible too. Like for me to look at the camera, it's like I'm just staring at a lens. And yes, the audience might
are
love
you out
that.
there?
It's fantastic. But at the same time, it's like I'm not even looking at you at all. So I'm looking at myself, or I'm looking at a mirror of myself. Either way, it's sort of like superficially horrible in that this is how I talk to other people, by looking at myself. Like, that's sad.
That is so mind-boggling. Like you're looking at yourself talk, and then you're like thinking about, what am I saying? What do I look like? You're not even thinking about like talking to the other person anymore.
And the other person's like, oh my God, they're looking right at me. And it's like, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Oh, it's such a mess. Oh,
horrible.
My God.
Yes.
Well, to the fans out there, we love you guys, and we love to hear from you. So please just throw something in the chat just so we know you're out there. I mean, we know you're watching, but it's just nice to get a little feedback, and, send us questions, send us anything, just a heart. We just, miss you guys so much, and
definitely send
can't
messages.
Wait till we see you all again.
All right. Don't we have a pretty awesome interview coming up?
Yes, we do. So this is Daryl Armstead, a very good friend of the band. He's a keyboard player, a vocalist. He's a recording engineer. He's also a virtual videographer, and he's our friend. He had us on his show last week, and we are more than happy to have him on ours. You got to support each other in these crazy times. So let's hit it. A great friend of ours, great friend of the band, great friend to me. Amazing musician. We just wanted to get you on our show and talk to you a little bit about how it's been for you the last 6 months or so with all the craziness going on, and how you've been hanging in there.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it has been crazy over the last 6 months.
That's for sure. Yeah, so what have you been up to?
Okay. Well, I have to go back to right before the pandemic started. We got our announcement, I think it was the last weekend in March, that Illinois was shutting down. Mm-hmm. And I had this great idea starting the first of the year. And I actually started with this idea about the 1st of March, that I was going to offer a professional music video service for local Chicagoland musicians.
Okay.
And it was where I could take a solo artist, or maybe 2 artists, and bring them into my green screen room. And that way I could give them a background to their video that could be
Yeah.
anywhere in the world and change the scenes and make it a professional music video. And I was going to show these videos. And so, my videos were going to be a prototype to start offering this service.
Oh.
Then the pandemic came, and I couldn't meet with anybody to offer the service. In the meantime, I've done about 85 professional music videos with either myself, Sonia Hicks, or both of us.
Uh-huh.
So it's still an idea on hold. That's a service that I'm willing to offer the Chicagoland musician community.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, your videos are awesome. And you were great enough to put up a video of how you did the videos. So that was really informative. And I'm sure a lot of people appreciated that. And it was cool to see all the behind the scenes of all the different steps that take to put a professional video together. So thank you for doing that.
Well,
and, go ahead.
The way I get to educate my competition. So by the time it's over, there's going to be about 100 different services offering the same thing that I could offer. But it's all good because that's giving back to the community.
It sure is. I mean, people needed that kind of information right now. So I'm sure a lot of people appreciated that. And people may not know this, but we've worked with you in the past as a band. You recorded at one of our first demos that we still actually use today. So if you've seen the Secondhand Soul Band promo video, the bed music you hear is all recorded in Daryl's studio. He's an amazing engineer and just a wonderful friend to the band, like I said. So we really love working with you and, just wanted to check in with you. So.
Thank you. But, the secret is getting good talent into your recording studio, because then you don't have to do a lot of post-production edits. And you guys were amazing. You just came in and nailed it in one take and made my job easier. All I had to do was just master it, and it was done. Easiest project I ever had.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, we were so excited to do it, and we just wanted to make it tight and make it sound. We were so happy to be able to do it live, where it captured sort of a more of a live feeling than a studio canned version. So you definitely were able to capture that. So thank you for that. So now you've been a musician for I'm sorry, go ahead.
And you guys were all of that and the bag of chips.
So you've been a musician for a really long time. I know you had a day job that you worked for a long time too. What was that job?
Yeah, I worked at Allstate Insurance, in different management capacities. And I worked there until 2006. I took a corporate buyout. And so since then, I've just been living off my investments and having fun as a musician.
Wonderful. And you do a lot of gigs every year. So do you have any idea how many that is in a year, or is it what's your average? Before COVID, that is. Well,
let's see. When I first started being a professional musician after I left Allstate, I was on the average working 5 days a week. And then I said, this is like a job. Why did I retire? And so since then, I've been doing on the average of about 3 days a week, which is over 100. In the ballpark of 100 to 150 gigs a year.
Mm-hmm. And now you do sometimes duos and sometimes full band stuff. So you're pretty versatile in what you can do. You sing and you play keyboard and obviously recording and now video recording. So you are definitely working harder, it sounds like, in your retirement, but I imagine you love it. So it doesn't probably feel like a job.
I would say it's keeping me off the streets, but no, it's in the streets all the time.
Fantastic. And so when you first started playing, how old were you and what was your first instrument and how did you kind of get steered toward that?
Well, I was 4 years old when I started piano lessons, and I come from a musical family. So it was a requirement. I didn't really have a choice. My parents said, you will take piano lessons. And so I had to do that before I could do other things, before I could leave the house, play baseball, basketball, football. I had to practice the piano first. And so with that kind of stress and pressure, I naturally hated it, but I had no choice, because I couldn't do anything else until I did that. But I had a lot of successful musicians in my family, even at an early age. And so, I wanted the same type of attention that my cousins were getting. And so after a while, I began to love music and appreciate it.
And did you, what genre did you steer toward when you first started to play? I mean, I'm sure your piano teacher made you play classical or things like that. But when you really started to play maybe pop music, or what did you decide to play?
Right. Yes. My piano teacher steered me to classical, but as soon as I started playing, what I really played was the radio.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the drill back then was you turn on the radio, and it was all AM radio there, and there was no FM. And so it was all playing pop music, rock and roll, and I'd play along to whatever I heard in real time. And so that developed my ear, and I got so that if I heard it, I could play it. And one of the most popular things back then was to play themes of TV shows.
Huh?
It was themed to Peter Gunn or 77 Sunset Strip. Those were the things that made you the most popular in the neighborhood if you could play the TV theme songs.
And you couldn't record it back then, so you had to really pay attention and listen and be right there next to the radio.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because when I was growing up, I remember getting cassette tapes and we were so excited we could actually record our favorite songs, and we got it right off the radio. So that's how we learned. Yeah. So, and then when you started professionally was basically after you retired, it was really when you kind of doubled down and went for it.
Yeah. I really started playing professionally when I was 12 years old.
Oh.
My first paid gig was at the Playboy Club in Pasadena, California. I've got relatives out there. And the Playboy in Pasadena is not Hugh Hefner's Playboy. It's just a neighborhood bar.
Oh, good story, though.
And so I played the blues, and I got $10.
Oh.
So that was my first professional job.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, even though I worked, quote, corporate career where my main objective was just to party all the time and have fun, but get paid along the way. Let's see, there were periods I was generally minister of music at a church.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was almost like a full-time job.
Yeah.
There were periods of time for about like 15 years where I was music director at a couple of pro theaters. Mm-hmm. And so the theaters would have maybe about 20% of their year's program musicals, and so I would direct those musicals. There were times where most of the time I had a band going, and they were touring bands that would play the weekends, college one-nighters, high school proms, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. And we would generally be out Friday and Saturday night. And so the routine, especially for Saturday night, was getting back home at 4 a.m. And then taking a shower and going to church to play the early service as minister of music. And so, let's see, add into the mix, I ran a professional recording studio for about 15 years. So there was many times where I worked more hours in music than I did for Allstate.
But I don't think you'd have it any other way, right?
No, and it's made me the man that I am today, completely old and worn out. No.
I feel you.
A guy that wants to party all the time looking for fun. That's what it's today.
Fantastic. And if anybody has ever seen Daryl, you know that he's always so much fun to watch, and he plays. I love your assortment of genres that you play when you play live. You just you're not afraid to tackle anything, and almost always you nail it. It sounds so good. It's just so much fun. So you're just so much fun to watch and perform. I've performed with you too, and it's always a blast. So.
For sure. Thank you. It comes from being weaned on the radio. Just about anything and everything would come on the radio. And so my favorite genres of music are the radio.
Well, that's pretty broad. Well, who knew how everything was going to turn out? Now at this point, everything's basically on demand. So I think we appreciate music more than maybe the average person because we sort of had to wait for what we wanted or create it ourselves. So, well, thank you, Daryl. It's been delightful to have you on the show. Anything else you want to add?
Well, absolutely. Motown, funk, and soul.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. And I forgot to mention in the clip that Daryl's show schedule, he presents also on Facebook and YouTube like us. On Thursdays, he does a live performance show from 6 to 7, and requests are encouraged. So send, show up with your favorite song request. Tuesdays from 6 to 6:30, he does a live talk show. That's the one we were just on. And then Sundays from 3 to 4, he produces the Diva Sonia Hicks live performance show, which is a blast too. So check him out. You can search for Daryl Armstead, Armistead, on both Facebook and YouTube to find him. So check that out. Yeah, so we got an announcement. We talked about this last week. So we want to make sure that you guys all join us. We're going to do a Netflix watch party. Pretty cool. Saturday the 17th is next week, Saturday. And it's the movie What Happened, Miss Simone. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to do that movie. It's using never before heard recordings, rare archival footage, and her best known songs. This is the story of legendary singer and activist Nina Simone. So it seemed like a good fit for the times right now. Let's see what was it like back then when she was an activist. So yeah, join us. You just download a little Chrome extension for your computer, and then we can chat away while the music's on, while the movie's on. So.
Yep, and like always, leave your comments, your questions on our Facebook page, and we're going to get to them on the next show for sure. Episode, it's going to be 19 coming up next week. That's right. So,
well, Dave, we did a good job today, I think, huh?
Hey, I'm
not that we didn't miss loud, but hey, I think we nailed it.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. So, hey, we have our contact information up there. Make sure you like us on YouTube. We're really trying to build up that screen name just as much as we have Facebook. It would be easy if we could just have all our friends from Facebook automatically on our YouTube. So
absolutely.
Yep. You got to diversify, and I can't wait for 2021. It's that last thing that's keeping me going. I'm telling you.
We will get there eventually. I promise it will come. Everybody, please stay safe. Wear your masks. Social distance. The virus is real. We love you. Cannot wait to see you all again soon.
Yes. Later.
Hey, secondhand soul fans.